I think for me, the development of the young players in this block, obviously the upside of losing the players to Ireland is that you get a really good chance to see them play. So the Scarlets game, obviously away, was a good win. Then we had an off week, training week, and then we played Chile, and there was definitely some good aspects of that performance, of things we could do better, and the evolution of their games in the Glasgow game was the most pleasing thing for me. You know, whether it was a Chris Cosgrave or Liam Turner, Rob Russell getting a hat trick, Cormac Foley did really well when he came on, etc., etc., etc. So, that was the most pleasing thing. Obviously, to score 40 points against a good team who are clearly motivated, but there's plenty to work on as well. So, plenty in the review this morning to keep us busy.
It was 6 tries against Glasgow at the weekend. You're averaging around 5 a game this season. It must be very pleasing how you did an attack, despite, like you say, rotation, bringing in younger players.
Yeah, and it is hard sometimes when you're constantly changing the team to get the cohesion that is required to break down modern defences and score 5 tries a game, or whatever the average is. And it's credit to the amount of work the coaches put in, but also the lads put in themselves. I think the way we train helps. The way we include the younger players and the way in which we rotate the opportunities in training, so when people do step in, they feel prepared and ready to go. So I do think that's a big thing for us, but also the expectation of delivering, because the competition, the pressure internally to play well, because they played really well, scored 40 points, and 15 Irish players have just turned back up today.
And on the injury front as well, you've got James Lowe and Jordan Larmour coming back into full training. I mean, they've probably been looking at Rob Russell at the weekend thinking, we need to get back here.
Well, the list is endless, really, of players that have played well, and it forces the Ireland boys to come back in and make sure that they hit the right standard and pick up where they left off. There's no room for complacency from their point of view, for sure, because everyone wants to play in the big games, and we've got obviously the Ulster game this weekend in Europe coming around the corner.
We got the news earlier that Robbie Henshaw is going to be out until January after wrist surgery, and how big of a blow is that going into such an important block of fixtures?
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing to lose him, particularly losing Kieran Frawley as well. But it's not too serious an injury. It's not a minor procedure, but it needed doing. But it's not a major thing for him, so we're pretty confident he's going to be back early in the new year. Charlie Natai obviously is more than able to play at 12, and we've got other options as well. So, but yeah, no, it's disappointing for Robbie, but he'll be back soon enough.
Thanks very much for your time, Stuart. All the best of the weekend.
Thanks.
Hi, Stuart.
Hiya.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about James Lowe and Jordan Larmour, training again and probably maybe available at the weekend. That must be a big boost to you in terms of getting some of your best players on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, poor James and Jordan, they've had a tough run with injuries, and we've missed them really. Missed them on the training field. Their energy is infectious. They're both brilliant lads, bring a huge amount of energy to the group. They're very, very good players, and they've been out for such a while now. It feels like the 2 new players arriving in the team. So James was at his vocal best today, looking sharp. So no, it's exciting to have them back. But again, credit to the lads who played in their absence as well. Dave Carney was very good at the weekend. Obviously, Rob got the hat trick. There's a real competition for places in the back 3 now. Jimmy as well, obviously did well for Ireland. Hugo back as well. So it's competitive.
And just in terms of crunch periods during the season, would this be one of the crunch periods where you come back from the autumn internationals and you're trying to get your squad ready and prepared for obviously URC into provincials, but then going into the European games?
Yeah, it is. It's always a challenging period, but a good period because, like I say, you're just refilling your room with experienced players who've just come off a 3-game winning series in November, and they've had a week's break, so they're all excited to be back in. The muscle memory's kicked in, and they've remembered all the plays and the calls, and it's very similar, as you know. So it is a bit challenge, but it's a good challenge. And we've had day 1 today, day 2 tomorrow will be the real acid test, put them under pressure on a Tuesday, and then obviously select the team. Hopefully put in a good performance against a top class team in Ulster, and then we're off to France to play Racing.
Finally for me, Stuart, I just wondered, with the sad news about Doddie Weir, did you know him and have interaction with him at any stage? He seemed to be an amazing character and a great rugby player.
Yeah, no, I played Scotland with him, so he's the same age as me. Played Scotland 19s together, Scotland 21, Scotland students, and I met him many times subsequently. So yeah, I didn't actually realise, I didn't hear of his passing till after the Glasgow game, but it's one of those moments that takes you aback really, and the magnitude of the news really hit me during the course of the evening because I admired everything about him, but I admired him more so once his diagnosis of MND, because of his courage, his optimism, the smile he had on his face, and it was so. I was so pleased to see that he got to Murrayfield for the New Zealand game, a couple of weeks ago, so he could have the send off that he, richly deserved.
Thanks, Stuart.
The last block of games that's just had was, lots of bonus points and points in the bank as well. A lot of new players have come into the system. Has that filled the gap from the players that you experienced there, that you lost last season?
Yeah, I mean it's always the challenge at Leinster. You've always got 7 academy lads coming into the programme at the bottom end. So you can't just keep adding 7 academy lads every year because someone has to come out of the top end. And we lost some good players last year, and they've gone on to do great things. But that's just the nature of keeping the squad fresh, keeping the evolution of Leinster going, and I don't think you can knock the young lads for the opportunities that they've taken, both against Chile, Scarlets, and also now Glasgow. So, it's great that they get this window, and we certainly would be in favour of more games in the international window because it gives us this opportunity to play and develop them. But as I said before, it doesn't happen by accident. You don't just magically make a talented young player. There's a lot of schools and clubs and coaches that do a great amount of work to get them to that point, and then for us, we integrate them well. I think we involve them well, and to be fair to the players, they apply themselves well. So it's a good model for player development. There's no doubt.
Last season you integrated up to 60 players. Did you see that happening again?
Probably not 60. I mean, if you remember, we had the COVID intervention around this time last year, and we got a lot of rescheduled games during the Six Nations. There's less games during the Six Nations this time. I wouldn't know how many we've played already so far this season, but I imagine it's in the 40s, if not 45. So we might get close to it, but last year we were stretched at times because of those rescheduled games all the time and having to give people opportunity, plus the injuries that we picked up. So, but that's the beauty of Leinster, is the depth, So, they come into the academy at 20. It's not like they're rookies, they've played for Ireland 20s, and they're coming into our squad. And then when Jimmy O'Brien or someone plays for Ireland, everyone goes, "Oh my God, it's amazing," But yeah, we've had him in the system for 7 years. I've coached him for 7 years now, and he's 20, 24, 25 years old. So we would hope he'd be ready by then.
Okay, good luck with the new block.
Thank you.
Anyone else with a question for Stuart?
Hi, Stuart. It's Michael Turnbull here from Virgin Media. How's things?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good stuff. Listen, I just have one for you here. Obviously, going into the weekend, Ulster are going to be in high spirits. They won 4 out of the 5 last URC matches. It was actually yourselves that beat them, obviously, the last time they lost back in late September. Their tails are going to be up. They're going to be very confident. What kind of challenges does that pose for Leinster?
Significant. They beat us at the IDS last year. They beat us twice last year, in fact. They've got good players coming back in. You know, Vermeulen played last week. Ian Henderson could be back. He was on the bench. You know, so you look across their team now. It's a very, very strong team. You know, who are going to be operating right at the top end of Europe. You know, there's no doubt in my mind. That's how highly I rate them. So yeah, it's a proper challenge. Probably a challenge that both teams need and want at this point in the season. One, to go against each other because URC points matter. We're first and second, and secondly, you know, we're on the cusp of Europe and some more interpros post that. So yeah, it's great timing in terms of we've got our internationals back and they have as well. So 7:35, you know, Saturday night, hopefully a sellout.
Yeah, feeling good. Was tough out there, but yeah, recovered well now, so ready to go for this week.
Happy with your performance. Thought you hit the ground running again.
Cheers. Yeah, it was good to be back out there with the lads.
And I think it's the start of a very busy period for you guys. You're at Ulster this weekend, Champions Cup around the corner. You're coming back at the right time.
Yeah, indeed.
Dublin this weekend, Ulster going down. It was a tight game last month up in Belfast. What do you expect them to bring?
Yeah, much of the same really. Their defence was really strong that day. It was very difficult to break them down. So again, we're just going to have to be really accurate from the beginning of the game and really try and get into our flow. Yeah, as you said, it was very tight. Like game of very small margins, and we're just going to have to hope we're on the right side of them now this week.
Their lineout's been going very well this season. It's one of their areas of strength. And obviously their mauling game, so defensive maul is going to be a big thing next weekend for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. When you look at their personnel, they're really good in that area. When you look at, I suppose, their whole squad with Alan O'Connor, like Kieran Treadwell, Ian Henderson. So yeah, it's a big area for us where we're going to have to look to stop them there. But yeah, we're well aware of that threat, and we'll be working on it this week to try and make sure we negate that.
Now, the players always say that week of an interpro kind of brings an extra edge to training. I mean, with a Champions Cup around the corner on top of that, is it all guns blazing for you guys this week?
Yeah, that's it. It's obviously a competitive bunch as well, so everyone wants to be in the team. So yeah, as you said, it's an extra bit of a clip in training. So yeah, you're correct there.
Cheers for your time, Ronan. All the best weekend.
Cheers. Thanks very much, Tony. Cheers.
Just wondering, the game against Ulster, who were second in the table in the URC, is that a very sort of interprovincial games are always fairly tight and you know, sometimes games can, you know, take on an intensity of their own. Is that an ideal preparation for the European Champions Cup game the following week?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's also probably an extra bit riding on this in terms of, obviously, as you said, first and second in the league. So a win for us means it'll just a bit more breathing room at the top there. Whilst a win for them obviously puts them like right back in it, like up there with ourselves. So yeah, as you said, I think they're like, it's definitely a bit more of an intensity for this game, and yeah, especially with the block that we're in now, it's going to be really important trying to keep our momentum going and try and make sure we get a win here.
And I think the last guest might have asked a question too in relation to yourself. It's pretty good timing. I know you missed the autumn series and that. How frustrating was it for you over the last while, trying to get back in and get some game time?
Yeah, to be honest, it was very disappointing, especially the timing of that injury. Kind of like had a good pre-season, was training a lot, and then yeah, just the timing of it was very unfortunate. We've been working hard to get back, And then obviously last weekend was delighted to get back out in the field. With the success the Irish lads had over the November internationals, it was obviously disappointing, I suppose, not being involved or in that environment, but just kind of been working hard to get back, and now I am kind of raring to go, all guns blazing really.
Finally, I'm just wondering, what has impressed you about Ulster this year? I mean, they're second in the table, as I said. They seem to have got more of a steeliness about them, which maybe is tough enough to play them on Saturday.
Yeah, kind of as was alluded to earlier as well. Their set piece stuff has been really strong. Their line out and their maul been really good. Defensively as well, they've been really strong. So I think for us, it's just about making sure we do our own job and try to make sure we kind of impose ourselves on them in the game early on. But yeah, I think in particular their line out and their defence has come on leaps and bounds, and I think they're really strong in those areas.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, thanks.
Yeah, Ronan just on here.
How you going?
How do you compare the Indian pros or the Derby Indian pros with other OUC games for intensity?
They're very similar to, I suppose, the European week's intensity. If not the same, to be honest. There's definitely certain challenges that you can kind of gloss over, where, like, I suppose because the national team set piece stuff will be quite similar, and like terminology and stuff could be similar there. So there's different challenges in that, but in terms of intensity, yeah, it's right up there with the European Cup games, because obviously it brings everyone up a fair clip, because people are fighting for positions in their national team as well. So I think, as I said, it definitely does raise the intensity for an Interpro game.
And do you and the other players feel the pressure of qualifying for Europe with each game?
Yeah, probably would. I suppose that'll probably be more on next week's agenda. Like, this week is very much so just focusing on Ulster and just making sure that we can try and get that bit of breathing room at the top of the table.
Thanks, Will.
Cheers, thanks.
Okay, does anyone else have a question for Ronan?
Ronan, how are you doing? My name's Mike Turnbull here from Virgin Media. How's things?
How you going? Alright?
Not too bad. All's good. Listen, I just have a question here. Look, there's a real possibility that Lancaster could go unbeaten in the League of Fate. I know you've done it once before, the guys from the URC, I think back even in the Celtic League days many, many years ago. Is that something that lads are kind of concentrating on, or is it just a happy coincidence maybe that it happens? Is there any kind of thought towards that at all? It's obviously incredible achievement if you can do it.
No, we haven't thought about that really, to be honest. Still very early days as well. Still massive, large chunk of the season to go. So yeah, it hasn't really even been on our radars, to be honest. Yeah, just thinking game by game at the minute.
No worries, and of course Ulster in fantastic form, 1-4 for the last 5. They could be very confident going into the weekend. Does that kind of pose extra challenges for you, or just look at it as another game to get on with it?
A bit of both, really. Like, there definitely is an element of just another game, have to do our own job in order to get the win, but at the same time there also is a big element that both sides come in obviously good form, and it's going to be very important to kind of keep this momentum going for the next couple of weeks as well. So kind of a bit of both.